So, we are here in week 8 of the SPL. We're starting off the week with some big games. We got Paradigm versus Titan and AFK Gaming versus TSM. So, you're up. Paradigm, Titan. Paradigm is on the up and up right now. Titan is feeling a bit shaky this season. They started off pretty strong, but they're getting a bit shaky. Pretty much the opposite of Paradigm, which kind of started off shaky, how Paradigm does, and then Paradigm just goes, whoop, we're Paradigm. And they do really well for the rest of the season. But that should go 2-0 the way of Paradigm over Titan. Particularly with their record as two teams, Paradigm historically does well against Titan, even when Titan was considered a much better team. Second up, on Thursday, we got AFK Gaming versus TSM. This is the new TSM roster, and no longer AFK Gaming, but Team Envy. That is not updated here on the season ticket. It's Team Envious versus TSM. This is pretty close. This series, I can't imagine. I've got it going 70% AFK win both, 30% split. I don't see TSM taking both. But it should be a good series. TSM, pretty important games for them to make sure that they win here. At least one if they want to try to get top 3. As far as Team Envy goes, it's just a matter of them trying to secure a first place slot. I believe they need another 4 wins out of their next 8 games in order to secure. On Friday, we have Epsilon Esports versus Myrmidons. Go ahead and save everybody a lot of time thinking about this one. Don't think about it. You pick Epsilon. If there's anything I've learned this season, it's that you don't think, you pick Epsilon. That's what I've learned this season. Doesn't matter who they're against. You don't even look who they're against. You just pick Epsilon. Right? Pretty good advice, honestly, if you want FP. It's worked all season except for 1 week. Next up, we have COG versus Denial, which may not seem like a huge game, but is in fact a massive game in terms of standing. Denial really needs to win those games in order to have the capability really to go to the LAN. They've got to do good this week. They've got to get some wins this week. It's down to the nitty-gritty week 8. There's only 2 weeks after this. Cognitive, on the other hand, have pretty much secured themselves a spot going to this LAN, but they would like a couple more wins to make sure their seeding placement. They don't want to be 6th seed. You know, they should be looking at 4th, 5th. You know, not 3rd at this point, but probably around 4th place is possible. So they have to get those wins. I've got it going 2-0 the way of Cognitive. No, Ching. Myrmidons are not beating. If Myrmidons beat Epsilon, I'll do this. But I just did it, so there you go. On Saturday, our first real big day of SPL, we got 4 games being played, starting off in Europe. Paradigm versus Dignitas. Dignitas had a great week, not last week, but the week before, finally getting some wins going, getting a streak. But then they had a super incredibly difficult week having to play teams like Epsilon and stuff. And they lost their win streak, and they're on, you know, kind of the down and out right now. This should be pretty straightforward, 2-0 the way of Paradigm. Dignitas has been known to do some upsets, though. Wouldn't be terribly surprised, but 80-20 Paradigm. After that, we got Fnatic and London Conspiracy. Pretty much the same feelings that I've got for Paradigm Dignitas. About 80-20 in favor of Fnatic. The 20, of course, being for split. There's no way that I see Paradigm or Fnatic losing both games to them. But Fnatic probably going to end up 3rd place this season for Europe. Paradigm going to be 2nd. So both those teams are pretty straightforward to bet for. TSM versus Enemy. TSM's new roster, which is their old roster plus Bickham instead of Divios. Looking strong, feeling strong. I feel like they're probably going to walk over Enemy. I've got this going 2-0 the way of TSM. I think the TSM AFK game, or TSM Envious games, will be a lot closer than the TSM Enemy games. And for the biggest game of the week in terms of names, seeding, players, etc., Cloud9 versus Eager. Big games. This right here could very well determine second, third place seeding. That does matter. Second place does not have to play in the quarterfinals round at the Super Regionals, where third place does. Eager, a little bit ahead in the brackets right now. Cloud9 has the better trade in terms of last time they played at the finals of the LAN was 3-2 in favor of Cloud9. This one is too close to call, so I'm going split. I'm going split. And finally finishing up our Sunday, we got Fnatic versus Myrmidons. No big deal. That's going towards Fnatic. We have Epsilon versus Justice. Now, normally you don't even have to think about Epsilon games, but you have to extra not think about Epsilon games this week. Myrmidons plus Justice, as Hindu Man would say, it's free SP week for Epsilon. Epsilon the way 2-0. Finishing out our week, we have Cloud9 versus Cognitive. Cloud9, depending on how they play against Eager, if Eager wins both those games, this Cognitive game could be a little bit more interesting. But presuming they do split and their morale isn't too bad, they do have to play back-to-back days, which is a big deal. But Cognitive shouldn't be able to take a game off of Cloud9 in that case. I give that about 90-10 in favor of Cloud9. And finishing up the week, Denial versus Team Elevate. Denial, I don't think, is having a very strong split. Elevate actually playing a lot better recently than they have in the past. And I have them going the way of split. And that wraps up our Week 8 predictions.